We're going to do a burst on a piece of Birdseye maple today. I've had this piece for a number of years, and Birdseye has sort of fallen out of favor with players. They prefer the quilted look out of Seattle or the Great Northwest versus the classic Birdseye maple, Eastern Hard Rock maple that Gibson had used for years. I think it's just sort of the way things have turned out over time. Guys like the quilt versus Birdseye. Birdseye is still used in pool cues and veneer for high-end cars and whatnot. It's a poplar back, rear routed, so you can keep the beautiful little birds. Birdseye is a little bit hard to stain. I think that's one of the reasons guys aren't using it as much. It's not as easy to burst. Those Birdseyes are actually defects, disease in the wood, and what happens is when you stain it, it absorbs the stain. It's much softer. It's hard to get it back out. So if you do a stain like I do where I rub it on, it just doesn't look right. When you can sand it and play with it, you still just don't get it. So we're going to put yellow on, and then for the back we're going to use that russet from Angelus. So this poplar will take color, any color. Poplar stains really well. So we're going to put a darker back on, a lighter top, and then we're going to feather the outside here in brown. I'll show you what I mean. And then we're going to go ahead and sand it and hit it with some sanding sealer, and this will be a giveaway. So put a comment in here and maybe you can win this body. It's all ready to go. Humbucker with a tele bridge. All the control wires are drilled. This will be a perfect guitar for you guys. So I'm going to continue with that giveaway tradition. We're going to be using Angelus leather dies today. Thank you to Angelus. You can purchase them in the link below. I get credit. Angelus has been great for me and will continue to be purchasing from them. This body is all set. I see one scratch right there. I've got some 320. I'm going to just sand that out relatively quickly here. Well, I got those stupid scratches out. Gonna come in with some yellow. We're gonna do yellow on the top first. A little bit of blistering in this wood as well. That's what that is. Yellow and Birdseye is a classic look. If you look at all the old Gibsons from back in the day, Eastern Hard Rock was the wood of Michigan, where Kalamazoo is. And they exclusively use this stuff. You get a lot of Birdseye also up in the UP. And you use woods, I guess, in your local area. Hence why Birdseye was so popular back in the day. Two coats. Always put two coats on. Get much more even coloring. Really is a nice piece of wood. This piece of wood's kind of rare too. There's no sort of run out happening in it. A lot of times when you get Birdseye, you'll see these like running through it. And I got this at Owl Hardwood and Lumber here in Chicago. And I've just been sitting on it. So let's make a guitar out of this stuff. So we'll carry the yellow onto the side as well. I put a little light round over on this, just an 1/8. Poplar is one of those pieces of woods that doesn't get its streak cred. I don't know why. You could see that dark streak running right through. I think I cut it off right there. Not sure why poplar doesn't get any cred. But yeah, we got some nice looking stuff here. So I'll hit this with a sanding sealer and then ship this out to whoever wins. So that's the yellow. We're going to put this russet, which is like a brown yellow, on the back. It's not my favorite color, but I know it'll look good with poplar. See how it nicely darkens up this piece. There's like a little bit brown black in here. This is actually the perfect color for this back. Really enhances this grain. Quite impressed, actually. Darkens it up nicely. Really even. Neat. Alright, we'll hit the sides here. If you want some of the really dark colors from Angelus, you got to add a little bit of black to it. That's the trick. Black has that dark pigment in it. That's what I ended up doing on that Paul Reed Smith Restore, the Dragon's Breath. You can see how this russet is darkening up the Birdseye on the side. Actually looks pretty good. Poplar is absorbing the stain. Going in end grain always takes a little bit more stain. See, that second coat is definitely darkening it up. Put another coat on the back. And one of the dumber mistakes I've made before is after doing this, I'll put the top down and I'll darken it up. I wasn't intending to do that. I've got another towel sitting here to throw this down now. Alright, so I'll put a second coat of russet on the back. We'll darken up a little bit more. This actually makes it look like mahogany. If I added a yellow stain to mahogany, it would kind of look like this. It's not open grain, but the way the color's going in, it's kind of looking like it. That is smooth. All right, so the top needs a little bit of fading. We're gonna do that with the brown. I think the russet is a little bit too dark. Got a new brown. Clean rag. And when I put that yellow down first, it's gonna make sure that I don't absorb all of this too much into the wood. So the first color you put down is the color that's gonna stick. And when you use that red, like I've done in my other videos, you can't get it out. So we're gonna soak this one up pretty good. Rub it around. And the one technique I've learned that works so much better is the brushing out. Looks so much more natural than the swirling I was doing before. This is just brown. Again, we're going to go in that sort of teardrop-ish shape. We'll rub the corner here as well. Come back with some yellow. Not going to change my gloves. I'm going to let it just sort of absorb a little bit of the coloring. Pull it down a little bit more. So I use the strokes to apply that initial and then rub it in this curve to get that color to blend better. So I'm going to take a little bit of russet, feather this on, so just darken it up slightly. This coloring is turning out nice. But you can see when I'm going across the bird's eye, that brown is really absorbing in. So it's like that the darkest last color you put on is what you're going to be left with. Come back with the brown. And then one more finishing with the yellow. So I'm seeing a little bit of scratches down here that I didn't notice. Still have this one here. Probably gonna let this dry and hit it with 320 again, see if I can get this stuff out. Eastern hard rock is hard. Sometimes you gotta put a little more work into it. So let it dry for 24 and come back and hit it with 320 on the power sander. Well, that was a huge pain in the ass. Didn't think I'd have to sand as much as I did, so let's redo this. Come back with yellow first. At least I knew how the colors sat. Put 2 coats of yellow on again. Coat 1. Coat 2. You can see even that darkness is sitting in that ring, which is a huge pain. Alright, that's 2 coats. Come back with the brown, and again we're going to do that same technique. We're going to feather this on. Gonna come back with the russer, darken it up on the edge. Tempted to come back with some dark brown, but I know how that works sometimes. But I do have a black rag. I do have a dark rag and orange, and we're going to add just a little bit. So dark brown. And we'll heavily wash this. So this is a medium brown. Wash that down. I can see the darker color. It's actually looking okay. Sometimes you get this off coloring up there. Alright, we'll come back with one more yellow and wash this down. This is the yellow. And here we'll wash all this coloring out. what I was talking about with that darker blotchy is right there. Sometimes that darker color just doesn't sit right, and it's not. Right there, right there. I know when I hit it with steel wool, it'll probably look pretty good, but the lighter colors work better for Birdseye. In fact, I think I'm going to just add a little bit more yellow here. And some of you are probably like, I don't see it. Alright, too much coloring. Got to hit it with that steel wool. I think leave it. I think it's got enough color in the top. But the steel wool will help lighten all of this up. So this is fine steel wool we're going to be using here. We're going to rub this out pretty hard. A little bit of water on that steel wool, so it's got a little bit of rust. That's why you're seeing some extra fuzz. But we'll press down pretty hard and get it nice and clean. We just want to pull up that sort of first layer of color. And then once we pull off that first layer of color, we'll take this outside and use some Mohawk pre-catalyzed sanding sealer. We're going to put 3 coats on. And that mist coat is just going to help lock in the Angelus colors. Don't want to put it on too thick. You just want to get it nice and level, let it sit. Let it dry for a couple hours. And here it is, all dry. Sanding sealer ready to go. You can put whatever finish you want on this. Really neat coloring. Birdseye's did absorb the stain a little bit differently here on the edge. You can see that it's a little bit darker. It sort of seeps in. I didn't get the yellow to pop as much here. Thought the Birdseye's would pop a little bit more, but that's alright. This is then the poplar back. And that russet stain from Angelus really gives it sort of a mahogany look. So this actually looks like African mahogany. Really happy about that. That's a pretty neat trick. Russet and poplar make it look like African mahogany versus poplar. So to enter, put in a comment. I'll give this away by mid-April. But thanks for watching, guys. Follow me on Instagram, and we will see you in the next video here.